Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Hey guys, what's up? McJibbin here, back with another reaction video. What's up, guys? All right, new History Matters video. Great channel, one of my favorites. You know the deal. Original video at the top of the description below. If you're not subscribed, come join me and us. Learn about history through YouTube recommendations down in the comments. Or sometimes just videos that I see that look cool and I want to watch them and I'll put up a reaction. But we're nice, we're all nice, most of us. So I'd love you to come and join. The more the merrier. Bring up a chair. Let's do it. Why isn't there a Kurdistan? Kurds. So that's southeastern Turkey, I think. Maybe northern Iraq, southeastern Turkey, northeastern Syria, that area. I don't know much about this topic, but that's why I'm here.
If people live in the lands on the border of two often warring empires, you're in for a bad time. This was the case for the Polish, caught between Germany and the USSR, for the Koreans, caught between China and Japan, and also for the Kurdish, who sat on the border between the Ottomans and the Persians. However, unlike the first two examples, the Kurdish people never managed to create their own internationally recognized nation, which raises the obvious question: why? Why isn't there a Kurdistan?
Please teach me.
So, as of the late 19th century, the Kurdish people had lived overwhelmingly in either the Ottoman Empire or Persia. Thus, the only way that the Kurds could have created their own state was via the breakup of these two. And despite their best efforts, neither of the two empires were able to break the other. So what happened in order to cause this change? Well, it was Europeans, specifically France, Britain and Russia, the latter two of which certainly had big plans for the region. When the Ottoman Empire and Persia ran into problems, both states began to decline. This saw them lose territory, fall into debt, and as a result, both sought to modernise. And in came European advisors who brought with them the concept of the nation-state, which, to grossly oversimplify, is the idea that a state, the place over which a government exercises power, should be the same where its people, those who speak the same language and are a part of the same cultural group, live. If your people lived outside of your borders, time to go conquering. And if you had other peoples who lived within your borders already, well, it was time to change them and make them your own. This latter bit of advice was applied to the Ottomans, who stripped
America.
local Kurdish rulers of their autonomy and applied a one-size-fits-all approach. Tensions rose between Kurds and the government, but before much could happen, it was time for World War I. As you'll know, the Ottomans lost, and when the Entente was chopping up the Ottoman Empire, there were plans for an independent Kurdish state. The primary Western advocate for a Kurdistan was US President Woodrow Wilson, who cared enough to push for a Kurdish.
They made so many different deals with so many different people that obviously conflicted with one another.
State, but not enough to actually do much about it, since he delegated it to the British. The plan was that the Kurdish would get these lands with some British oversight. However, the Turkish, within their brand new nation of Turkey, had decided that the terms of the Ottoman defeat were too harsh and so fought a war to retain their territorial integrity. The Entente were pretty sick of war at this point, and so the British and Turkish came to an agreement about the Kurdish. Forget about those guys and we'll make a border here, which the Turkish agreed to in return for some of that delicious oil money, and so the modern-day borders of Turkey, Iran and Iraq were finalised. The Kurdish people were now mostly split between the three states, and in the following decades there was zero chance for that to change. The region's leaders supported the people who had carved up the...
See, this is one thing that Americans don't do. Alright, we don't push people out of our country that we don't like, and we don't, fight other nations for oil. We don't do that stuff.
The area in the first place, and that stability of these allies was far more important to them than the ideal of self-determination. And it wasn't until just after World War II that the only modern Kurdish state was created. This came about after Iran had been invaded by Soviet and British forces, and in 1946, after international pressure, Soviet forces withdrew from the north of the country. This created a power vacuum, and from this sprang the Republic of Mahabad. Now, unfortunately for them, this was the Cold War, and given that the Soviets had offered the Kurds their support, the West would not. And so, less than a year after its founding, it was swiftly conquered and reincorporated into Iran. And until the 1970s, calls for a Kurdish state were basically non-existent, and no such nation was ever built. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thank you for watching.
Interesting.
Special thanks to
Thank you for making. I really did not know much about that. Yeah, so that's the great comparison with Korea and Poland, stuck between two great powers fighting each other often, and them, though, being the only ones to still not have a nation. with all the conflicts in the Middle East in the past few decades, well, really ever since World War I ended, or World War II at least, that they still don't have the land. So they were kind of swept in the back burner. Yeah, great video. I learned a lot. Get ready for my next video, guys. I think I'll come out with one more today. I've put out a few, but I'm feeling better. I've been not under the weather. I said this in another video, just like mentally kind of down. I kind of get like that every now and then, like my state of mind, like emotional happiness and unhappiness, just kind of, and I just wasn't feeling great past few days, but I feel better. Thanks, guys, for sticking around, still liking my content. See you guys next time.
My patrons, James Bizanet, Kelly Moneymaker,